So I feel like this has gone very well for me, aside from the fact that I completely failed reading for 24 hours straight. Aside from that, hello, my loves. We are gathered here tonight to make some poor decisions. Can any of you feel the sense of impending doom that's upon us? I have been hard at work trying to make Bookmas a thing, filming and editing a lot over the past couple of days. Things are coming along. I'm still not where I wanted to be, not as far ahead as I wanted to be, so there's still a chance that this could all crash and burn. So stay tuned for that. In the meantime, I have been pretty much just filming and editing for a while now, and I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it, and I also don't want to have the entirety of December go by without me reading a single book. So I decided to put a little pause on the Bookmas filming and editing to film a 24-hour readathon. This was not on my original calendar. This was not in the original plan of 24-hour videos that I intended to film. I don't know how this is gonna work. I don't know how this is gonna go. I don't know if this will ever see the light of day, but what I do know is I need a break from staring at this computer. My eyes are bloodshot. I have broken nails, just like my broken psyche, and I need a break, and I want to read. So that's what I'm going to do. I am going to neglect my duties, and I'm going to sit and read. I'm hoping I can turn this into a video so that technically I'm not really like avoiding my responsibilities. I'm actually technically doing my responsibilities. See, this is where my brain is, and that is why this is probably a terrible idea, because I am fried. It's currently 7:30 at night, hence the artificial light we have going. So my plan is I'm gonna start at 8 o'clock tonight. I have been pretty much pulling all-nighters and drinking caffeine like a crazy person anyway, so I don't foresee it being that much of an issue. Cut to me passing out at 3 in the morning. So my plan is to start at 8 o'clock tonight, and I am going to read for 24 hours straight. I will use a timer, but honestly, I'm just gonna read from 8 p.m. tonight to 8 p.m. tomorrow, because then I need to get back to work, back to the studio. I didn't prepare for this. I barely freshened my face since I did my makeup at 6 this morning, so this is not gonna be a pretty video, and I'm just gonna need you to go with it, okay? We're gonna go with it. I have gathered pretty much all of the books on my TBR minus the very long fantasies, but all of the books that are conducive to a 24-hour that don't have to do with Christmas, because we will be doing another video for the Christmas rom-coms later in the month. So that's exciting. So these are all the ones that are not specifically Christmas rom-coms, but there are the rest of the books that were on my TBR, with the exception of the 2 600-page fantasies, because I just don't foresee that being feasible the way my brain is feeling right now. Now, as we all know, your girl can't make a decision to save her life. So what did I do? I put them into a wheel. I put them into a wheel. We are going to spin the wheel. There are 8 books here. We're going to spin the wheel, and whatever it lands on, that's what we're starting with at 8 p.m. So it's currently 7:32 at 8 o'clock. We are going to be starting the spectacular. That's probably a good thing that it landed on that, because if I were choosing myself, it would probably not be likely that I would get to this, because I'm intimidated. It's a historical fiction. I don't always find those very engrossing, and I definitely feel like in a 24-hour, I need something that's gonna hold my attention and keep me turning the pages. But it is the first one, so it's good to do it now as opposed to like 12, 13 hours in when I'm exhausted. And this is one that I really wanted to get to this month because it does take place at Radio City, and it has to do with Rockettes. I don't know, guys. Maybe it'll be like my best book of the year. We don't know. This is what we're starting with. I am gonna start in half an hour. I have an energy drink that I am currently in the middle of. I have coffee on standby. I have Panera on standby. We're gonna read for 24 hours straight, finish at 8 o'clock tomorrow, and be able to go right to sleep so that Wednesday we can get right back to the editing of it all. Okay? This is gonna be a short and sweet vlog because I don't have time to edit an hour-long vlog, so I'm hoping that I can keep this as pequeño as humanly possible. I'll do minimal updating, minimal talking. Everybody laugh at home. We all know it's not true, but I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try, okay? And that's all we could do. We could just try. So I'll see you guys in a half an hour and we will get started on our reading.
Sleigh bells are ringing out by the sea, sending a message of love and sympathy. I've been waiting by the phone, and this song will meet you at the door. This Christmas will be something unreal. Baby, I'm falling under your charm. All I ever wanted, got you wrapped up in my arms, and we'll stay up all night.
So it's been about half an hour and I am on chapter 7. So I made it about 50 pages in. So far, it's a little slow, but I'm enjoying it. I think that it's very helpful that not only do I know every single detail that she's describing when it comes to Radio City itself. I mean, I can see literally every room she's talking about, the dressing room, the rehearsal rooms, the foyer, all of it is so easy for me to visualize because I've been there 1,000 times. I also think it's very helpful that I have some experience in dance as well, because she is definitely going on and on about like exact combinations, and she's literally listing out Batma, Arabesque, Grand Jajam like over and over again. And for someone who has no idea what any of that is, this might be very boring because it's right over your head. For me, I'm like, oh yeah, I know that combination. Like I can see it, I can visualize it. Nothing significant has happened. It's pretty slow-ish. There is this terrorist that's been terrorizing the city during this time. So I think that's going to tie in as well. I don't think it's just going to be about her being a Rockette, but I don't know how it's going to tie in. I have no idea. So I'm hoping that that storyline is enough to hold my interest, because this is interesting so far, but I could see it getting old very fast if it's just, you know, rehearsals and being a Rockette. How engaging is that? Not very. About to start chapter 7 and I've been reading for about 38 minutes. So this video has just started. Yikes! All right, let's get back to it.
And we'll stay up all night, and the fireside is blazing bright. This Christmas will be something unreal.
It is almost 4 in the morning. We may have lost a few hours there, not gonna lie. You guys can probably figure out what happened. What happened. We're back. We're back and we're ready to go. And it's 4 o'clock and we have 21 hours left to go. Good news is that we finished this spectacular. So that is 1 book down. I will tell you more about my thoughts when I'm ready to be on camera again. Now is not that time. I have thoughts and I will tell you about them later on. Right now, I need to just like remain incognito for a few more minutes. While I'm being incognito, we're gonna spin this little wheel and find out what we're reading next. And then I'll check in with you later when I'm ready to appear live. Midnight is the darkest hour. Okay, this is good. This is good, guys. This is good. This is probably like in the top 2 that I was hoping would come up for this readathon. I need to get back to it and wake up and have some coffee. This is one that I was like praying would come up because I just really want to read it. I don't know why. I just do. Okay, I just do. I'm excited. Oh, I'm excited. I think I'm going to use this bookmark. First coffee, then reading. Coffee, reading. It's time. It's time. I will check in with you later when I've woken up a bit and when I've made some progress in here. Okay? Okay. Okay. Bye.
I will try hard just to keep you, so keep on smiling. That is what I'll do when Hollywood is firing. We've conquered problems of fear.
Hello, I guess I should take these glasses off. They are filthy. Listen, my life is falling apart around me. I have no excuses, okay? None. I owe you an update because I have been quietly reading in private for a good long while now. So I wanted to fill you in on what's been going on. The last I spoke to you, I would not allow you to see my face. I still would prefer to remain anonymous at this point because we're not feeling our best, but we're pushing through, okay? I promised you 25 videos. I did not promise that they were gonna be good quality and that I was gonna look cute in all of them, right? Here's the deal. I did take a bit of a snooze in the middle of the night. However, I do think this whole starting a readathon like super late at night is a good idea. I say super late. For me, it was 8 o'clock, okay? But I do think that's smart because like now it's daytime and I feel like I have all the time in the world, all the energy in the world. I feel like I made some really good choices, right? This lighting is doing me no favors. What else is new? I should have paused this. Oopsie doozy. I still have 16 hours and 37 minutes left of the 24 hours. I have finished the second book. I don't think that's a record in any way, shape, or form, but you know, we did what we could do. I think what I'm gonna do is I'm going to save my reviews for the end of this video because like I said, I want to just keep this train moving. I want to get through the 24 hours as quickly as possible. And if I keep stopping to chat, we're gonna be here for 2 days straight. So I'm trying to avoid that. So what we need to do now is choose our next book. So we're gonna do a little recording and choose our next book. I'm not gonna lie, like none of these are calling my name, so I don't really care. Let's just do it. Spin away. What are we gonna get? What are we gonna get? Ooh, check and mate. That's kind of exciting because I was a little bit hoping for a romance, although I'm pretty sure what I just read was a romance. Midnight is the Darkest Hour, that's not a thriller, it's a romance, right? Am I right? Am I wrong? I'm pretty sure I'm right. Anyway, I'll chat about that later. So we're gonna do check and mate now. I'll start the timer back up. I still don't really know how I'm feeling. I'm possibly going to ignore the 4 hours that I lost and just end this video when I'm tired tonight. Or maybe I'll keep going. Maybe I'll keep going. Maybe I will get a second wind. I don't know. But either way, I want to try and do like at least 2 more books, I think. I feel like 2 more would be good. You know, so I'm gonna go get started on check and mate. I am so excited. I should grab the book. I'm gonna need you to not look behind me because it's messy, okay? So we're gonna be doing check and mate next. I'm excited for her because it's Allie Hazelwood. It's young adult, it should be a breeze. It should be quick and cute. And then hopefully we'll be able to do 1 more, maybe even 2. Let's not get crazy, guys. Let's not get crazy, okay? All right, I'm gonna go because I look insane right now. Like, insane. Don't look at me. All right, let's go read. Okay, bye. All right, guys, let's chat for a minute. It's currently 8 o'clock, which means that the 24 hours that I initially set out to read for is over. I can't exactly remember how I started this video, but I'm pretty sure my words were something like,
I'm not gonna stop the clock and see what I can get done.
should we review the tapes? I'm going to read for 24 hours straight. I will use a timer, but honestly, I'm just gonna read
from 8 p.m. tonight to 8 p.m. tomorrow.
Obviously, we took some detours. Obviously, things didn't go completely according to plan. I should know this about myself. I don't know when I'm gonna learn that I can't stay up all night. I just can't. Mistakes were made, regrets happen. This is that time of every 24 hour where I start to wonder where I went wrong in life. You know, should I have gone for my master's degree? Maybe I should have stopped eating Play-Doh when I was 5. Maybe it messed with my brain. Maybe that's why we're here, making these choices now and regretting them. Either way, technically I've read for 24 hours. Also technically, I have not at all read for 24 hours. The compromise, because I seriously just unfortunately don't have time to push this vlog into a second and third and fourth day and however long it's gonna take me, I just don't have I don't have time, unfortunately. Enough complaining. So here's the compromise that I have come up with. So we've read 3 books. That's pretty good. right? The whole idea of this vlog was to take a break from editing and to actually focus on reading for a little while, which I have done. I'm starting off the month strong with 3 books down, right? That's great. That's great. Here's my compromise to finish this vlog out. I'm going to choose one more book. We're going to spin the wheel one more time. Whenever I finish that book, that's when the video will be over. So if it's not the total 12 hours that remain, which it won't be, I'm sorry. All right, we've already failed. We've already failed what we set out to do, which was to read for 24 hours straight. So that part's over. That part's done with. Now we're just going to set out to finish a 4th book and call it a day. Okay? I think that's a fair compromise. My vlog, my rules. We're gonna spin this bad boy one more time. We have Good Bad Girl, September House, Highly Suspicious and Unfairly Cute, My Darling Girl, and With Love from Cold World. So 5 left. Let's spin it. Takes a minute. My Darling Girl. Well, that's just super appropriate to close this out, isn't it? That is a thriller that takes place during Christmas. That's kind of perfect because one of the reasons I've been a little bit distracted the past couple of hours is I keep seeing people posting all these like cute Christmassy vlogs where they're reading like Christmassy books, and I am going to do one of those. I have a whole video planned reading exclusively Christmas rom-coms, so I am going to do that. But in the meantime, I'm kind of feeling a little left out. You know, I'm sitting here staring at my Christmas tree. I kind of want to read something Christmassy, so we're going to read My Darling Girl. Hold on, let me go get it. Hold on, stay right there. I'll be right back. My Darling Girl. This is a thriller and or horror. Jennifer McMahon sort of blurs that line a little bit, so I don't know whether this is going to lean more toward thriller, more toward horror, but I'm very excited. It takes place during Christmas time, so I've been waiting to read it until December. Honestly, I feel like this wheel has been incredibly kind. I feel like this has gone very well for me, aside from the fact that I completely failed reading for 24 hours straight. Aside from that, we're not going to talk about that anymore, okay? We're not going to talk about it. We're moving on. We're all moving on with our lives. And I'm going to get started on this, and then whenever I finish this, that will be the end of the vlog. Maybe tomorrow morning I will come back, you know, a little more fresh-faced, and I will tell you what I thought of all 4 of these books. Cool? Cool. Cool, 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 cool. Sounds like a plan. Bye.
Yeah, I'm feeling quite nostalgic as we decorate the Christmas tree. Every breath it feels like magic. Thank God we got this ceremony. Oh, I grab every occasion. There's nothing left for me to do. But my mind is on vacation every time I dream of you. Oh, I don't care if it ends.
Good morning, everyone. It is time to wrap up this 24-hour, or what was supposed to be 24 hours of reading. And it's time to finally tell you what I rated all of these books, because I definitely did this a little different. I didn't talk about my thoughts as I went. I feel like I'm not going to remember everything I wanted to say because I did it this way, but at the same time, I feel like it was actually kind of nice to just say, I'm done with this, I'm moving on, and like stick to the schedule, you know? Overall, I had a great time. I read 4 books. I enjoyed all of them. So I guess it was productive. It feels good that I'm starting off the month with 4 books read. That feels great, especially considering in November, I literally had only read 3 books until after Thanksgiving. So this is a nice head start. I do think that I need to chill on the 24-hour vlogs. And here's the reason I keep doing them. If any of you are like, why does she keep doing this to herself? She's clearly not having a good time. The reason is I want to do so much reading, but I don't feel, and this is like my own mental thing, but like I feel like unless I have an entire day devoted to reading, that I don't have time to read. Like, I'm not someone who can just sit down and read for 20 minutes before they have to do something else. I need like hours and hours set aside to like really binge read. If I don't have that, if I have other things that I need to do that day, I feel like I can't read at all. So because I'm trying to fit in so much reading, I'm like, oh, okay, if I can take this entire day just to read, then I'll be able to read so much. But reality hits about halfway through and I start thinking about all of the things that I really need to be doing, or I get burnt out, or I get tired, or I fall asleep. There's so many things that prohibit a really strong 24-hour readathon. I need to like relax, and I need to try and maybe do some more vlogs that are not time constraint related, because clearly it's not working well for me. But it's fine. I mean, I'm glad I did it. Technically, I didn't achieve the 24-hour goal, but I did achieve reading 4 books. So like, I can't even really be mad at myself, right? So like, positive vibes. We're being supportive of ourselves. Positive self-talk. Okay, this is something we're gonna try in the new year. But let's practice. Let's practice together. Enough about me rambling on. Let's talk about the books. The first book I read was The Spectacular by Fiona Davis. I enjoyed this. It's definitely, like I said, it's historical fiction, so it's not my typical genre, but because of the setting and the plot, it was definitely something that was more up my alley than a lot of historical fiction. This reminds me of a couple of things. It kind of reminds me of A League of Their Own, in that we start out when she's older and she's going back to sort of an alumni event situation. She's reflecting and looking back on her past, and it has a lot of those same themes of, you know, being a wife, being a mother, versus being independent and following your dreams and doing, you know, what really you want to do, despite the fact that society tells you you should be a housewife. It also gave me a lot of like Mrs. Maisel vibes in a lot of ways. I think that's mainly just because the time period was 1950s. The setting was New York City, so it felt very reminiscent. I mean, there were literally scenes that I felt like we had in Mrs. Maisel. It just reminded me so much of like Joel and Midge being like in the same exact conversation at her parents' house, talking about, you know, being a housewife versus being a comedian. It was just very, very similar to that. I really did have a good time. I also enjoyed all of the New York City shout outs, all of the Radio City locations. Also, there was like a mention of Tavern on the Green, which is one of my favorite restaurants and a very historically well-known restaurant that's in the middle of Central Park. As far as the storyline with the bomber goes, I did look into it, and I didn't need to because there's a whole author's note at the end that explains it, but I did look into it and I did do research on it, and it is a real thing. The names were changed, obviously, but there was a bomber situation. This man was like a disgruntled employee and started leaving bombs all over the city, including at Radio City and Penn Station and Grand Central and all of these other places. So it was all real. I mean, obviously there were fictionalized pieces of it, but it was very interesting to watch them try and figure out who this is and why they're doing this and where they're going to target next. In the beginning of the book, she meets a man who is basically a psychologist, I guess. He works at a mental institution, and he's been studying personalities and why people act certain ways, and it basically is sort of like the very beginnings of profiling. What's that show? Mindhunter? Very similar to that. So this was like the very beginning of that. The main character tries to get the police to work with him because he's really good at figuring out somebody's behavior and habits just based on them as a person and what they're likely to do and what they're likely to have as their background. And the police are like, you think we're going to listen to a psychologist? That's insane, which like is so funny because that's half of police work now, is getting into the minds of criminals. The writing was beautiful. I think overall I'm going to give it a 3.75. It's like just underneath a 4, and that's mainly just because it's not my typical type of book. But as far as what the book was trying to do, what it is geared toward, for somebody who likes historical fiction, for somebody who likes this type of sort of quieter book, it was excellent. It was very well done. The research was well done. The writing was well done. The characters, the plot, the setting, all of it. Highly recommend if this is something you're into. I'm definitely going to be lending this to some people. I already have a few people in mind who I think should definitely read this. Then I read Midnight is the Darkest Hour. This is going to be the most controversial piece of this vlog, but 5 stars. 5 freaking stars. This was absolutely, for me personally, phenomenal. Now, I know this is a very mixed book. I know people are feeling very mixed in their emotions about this, and I think there's a number of reasons for that. I think the main one being that this was absolutely marketed incorrectly. This is marketed as a thriller. This is following 2 of her other thrillers that were incredibly strong and twisty, and this as a follow-up, it feels like a totally different writer. It feels like a totally different book in a lot of ways, and I think that disappoints a lot of people. However, if you go into this book knowing that this is not a thriller, go into it with the idea that this is a romance with mystery aspects. And I'm telling you right now, it's so good. It's so good. It's so good. I don't even remember if I told you what it's about, but this book follows our character Ruth, who is raised in this very conservative small town where religion is a very prevalent piece of the community, and her father is the reverend of the town. She is the good girl, the reverend's daughter. When she's a teenager, she befriends this boy who's from the wrong side of the tracks. He has an alcoholic father. He gets into bar fights all the time and shows up at school with bruises. Everybody thinks he is the worst kid from the worst family. His father's the devil. He's the devil. They have the devil in them. It's this highly religious society ostracizing people that they don't understand is a huge theme in here. The two of them end up facing a situation that brings them together and become literally the best of friends. He protects her. She protects him. They are just two peas in a pod. She just can't give him up. He's everything to her. It's adorable. It is so cute. You go back and forth in time, so you get to see the beginnings of their relationship and friendship and how they became so close and how they sort of discovered each other's inner trauma and tried to help heal it. And then you are in the present time where there is some mystery going on. There's bodies being discovered in this swamp in this town, and the police are trying to figure out what happened. It's so much fun. Now, another thing that's very prevalent in this is the mention of Twilight, and this character, Ruth, is very sheltered, and her only escape from all of the religious claustrophobic feelings that she has is books. She discovers in the library Twilight. She reads it and rereads it and hides it from everyone that she's obsessed with it, but she is obsessed with it because this is like her only version of the outside world, her only version of what love could be, and she's just obsessed with it. Now, a lot of people's complaints about this book are that it's like Twilight fan fiction. I don't understand that at all. At all. There's nothing about this that is Twilight aside from the fact that it talks about Twilight. I'm not really sure why the Twilight thing bothers so many people, but I understand it. I understand why she is obsessed, because this is just like her only vestiges of a world outside of what she knows, and she clings onto it with everything she has. It makes sense to me. If you don't think you're interested in this book because you've heard negative reviews, you can keep listening. And if you've read this book, you can keep listening. But if you haven't read this book and you don't want to know anything about it because you intend to read it, I'm going to put a little spoiler thing on the screen for 2 seconds so that I can talk to everyone else about one thing, and then I'll take it off and you can come back, okay? So just 2 seconds. Give me 2 seconds. Are you gone? Okay. So for those of you that already have read this or are really not interested, so you don't care if you're spoiled, this is what I'm going to tell you. This book is a better written version of the Mindfuck series. I said what I said, okay? Mindfuck, if any of you have read that or heard of that, that was a huge thing recently that took the world by storm, took the internet by storm. I read it and I loved it. I loved it. Absolutely loved it. It follows these two characters, and one of them is basically just like trying to get vigilante justice. And this book is that, but better writing. Much, much better writing. The ending where the two of them are just kicking ass and taking names and getting everyone who's ever wronged them and then riding off into the sunset literally was just, it was so much fun. It was so much fun. So if you liked Mindfuck, I think you should read this. If you don't know what Mindfuck is, but you liked this, you should read that. Okay? Okay, spoilers over. That's all I have to say. Maybe that inspired some of you to pick it up. And for those of you that haven't read it yet, read it, please, please. Because I don't think I'm crazy. I don't think I'm crazy. I know some people didn't like it, but I'm telling you right now, if you go into it with the mindset that it is a romance, not a thriller, you will have such a good time. You will have such a good time. Okay? 5 stars. 5 stars. The third book that I read is Check and Mate, and I was very happy that this came up because I definitely wanted to get to this before the end of the year. I enjoyed this. I thought it was really, really cute. I think it had the typical Allie Hazelwood writing where it was incredibly swoony. The main character was smart and not like the other girls, and the hero was tall and broody, or at least seeming. It was sweet. It had the same exact recipe as all her other books, despite the fact fact that it was young adult. I think it was very interesting and very smart of her to place their ages at 18 because she was able to do a lot more with them, and it read much more mature than your typical young adult romance, for sure. Like, for sure, for sure. So if you're at all hesitant because you're like, oh, it's young adult, I don't know, like, it definitely doesn't feel as young as you might think, and I think you could still enjoy this. Oz, favorite character, hands down, obsessed with him. He is just the grumpiest, funniest man I've ever encountered in a book. So funny, so funny. And that's not the love interest. For those of you that haven't read it, that's not even the lead. That's just a side character, but I'm obsessed with him. At one point, he comes over to the main character and he has like a very sad, angry face on, and she's like, what's wrong? And he goes, my wedding planner is out of peonies. What do you think is wrong? It's just, he's just a sarcastic, angry, grumpy man, and it's just so fun. As far as the main characters go, I loved Mallory. I thought she was very honorable for most of the book. At the end, I will say I got very frustrated with her. I thought she made a lot of dumb decisions, and I didn't quite understand why she felt the way she felt about certain things. Very hard to explain without spoilers, but she annoyed me a little bit at the end, but in the beginning I really, really enjoyed her. And then Nolan, I think my biggest complaint is he just felt a little bit underdeveloped to me. He felt a little bit, you know, stock character. We get a little bit of his backstory later in the book, and that still doesn't really give me enough to really explain him as a person, I think. I think they were very cute and bantery together. I enjoyed them together, but I just don't think that he really stood on his own very well, and I didn't really understand him as a person and his emotions and motivations at all. Whereas with Mallory, I understood why she felt the way she felt, but I also was like, that's dumb. Stop making stupid decisions. So I think that's the only part where I feel like there is some young adultness to it. But I mean, for a YA book, it's very spicy. Very spicy. Like spicier than most young adult romances I've read. So overall, I gave it a 4. I thought it was very sweet, quickly paced, and I had a good time with it. It's not the best book I've ever read, but it's certainly one of the best young adult romance books I've ever read, for sure. And then the final book, which I left you on a bit of a cliffhanger, I read My Darling Girl. So after I last chatted with you, we spun the wheel, we picked this book, and I said I was just going to end the readathon whenever I finished this. I ended up finishing it that night. So I think overall I probably read like 18 hours, so not quite 24, but I finished it. I loved it. In the beginning, I was getting very nervous because it was feeling very slow, very quiet. It was just eerie. It was very creepy and eerie. Jennifer McMahon is so good at that. Like, she's good at telling these stories that don't really from the outside look flashy or impressive at all, but they just sort of get under your skin and just pick and pick until you're like, ugh. And this was exactly that. This was just, it was a fun time. It was a fun time. It was a creepy time. I loved the ending. I don't think it was the most original ending in the entire world, but I think it was like perfect. I think it was absolutely perfect for this book. And I thought the mother character was so creepy. Did I ever see what this is about? Yes, I did. Mom comes to stay with her daughter because she has cancer. She was abusive and alcoholic growing up. Now she's dying and she's coming to stay with her daughter. And she is weird and creepy. Weird and creepy. Weird and creepy. Like, ooh, she just was, ugh. I did listen to a little bit of this on audiobook, and I loved the audiobook. I thought the narrator did such a good job making this mother sound so creepy. Like, the voice she did for the mother, I swear it made it. It totally made it for me. It made it so much more eerie. I really had a good time with this. I'm gonna give this a 4.25. I think this was really good. Like, really good. I'm so glad I read it. I'm so glad I got to it. I'm so glad I got to all of these. Like, I feel like I had the best luck with the wheel. I really wanted to read this because it was December. I really wanted to read this and this before the end of the year. I really wanted to read this because it was December. Like, all of these books were the perfect choices, and I'm so happy that I read 4 books already this month. So we'll see if I read any more. But that's it. That's the end. That's the end of this vlog. Short and sweet. Short and sweet. I love how short for me is like 40 minutes. Anyway, if you did make it this far, leave a little chess piece in the comments down below. And as always, I am so grateful to every single one of you who clicked on this video. You guys are the best. The best. The best. So thank you. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in another video very soon. Hopefully, not hopefully, literally tomorrow. Literally tomorrow. Bye.